Hello everyone and welcome to my channel Knitted Art History, where I'm sitting telling you some art history stories while knitting, and welcome back. So today we're going to be talking about one woman, another Ukrainian master. I found out about her, so it's completely new for me. I never heard about her before, researching this topic and preparing this video. And I just saw some video in TikTok. I subscribed there on one of the ballet dancers, or Ukrainian ballet dancers, and she just was telling about this woman, and I got very interested because never heard of her. I'm not a ballet fan, and don't really like ballet, to be honest, not gonna lie. The last time that I was on ballet, I think I was like 10 or something like this. My mom, she's very fond of this. She really likes theater overall. I hate everything in theater, and I mean, and that was the last time that I was on ballet, because I quite literally fall asleep, literally. And after that, my mom was like, well, okay, I see that you are not very fond of this. I will not torture you. So yeah, so I'm not very theatrical, not very musical. So it's about her. So I think that if you are a ballet dancer, if you are a ballet enthusiast, you most definitely heard about her, about this woman, as you can see by the name of the video, about Varvara KARINSKA. And if you're not, if you're like me, uneducated swamp, then most definitely it will be also new material for you. I won't be knitting anything today. I'll be just sitting and talking with you. Don't have any mood, to be honest, for knitting today. Plus I have some of the project that I need to be very focused there. So yes, I'll be just talking with you. So sorry for such a, again, long intro. Let's dive into our topic today. Varvara Andreevna Жмутська, before marriage. How is it? Maiden name? Is her maiden name Жмутська. She was born on October 3rd of 1886 in the city Kharkiv, Ukraine. It's the east part of Ukraine. It's almost on the border with Moscovia, and constantly now being bombed, constantly under the threat. So the things are very, very, very hard there also, even though they're not occupied, they weren't occupied, but still, they're constantly being bombed with a lot of stuff, and so people are constantly dying there every day. Even though the city tries to live its best life, still the coffee shops are open, the shops, everything is open. People are trying, obviously they need to work, need to do something, but it's under constant threat. So this is where back then Varvara Andreevna was born. And so she was born actually in a very, very wealthy family. So her father, Zhmutsky, he was a millionaire. He was a textile magnate. And she was one of 10 children. She was the third child. And apparently her father was, we can say she was his, right? She was his a favorite child. And he loved her till the point that all of other children were actually very, jealous of her and of their relationship. Overall, the family was very known in Kharkiv. They were very loved. The father was also, few times, he was a deputy in the city Duma. Starting from the young age, starting from childhood, she was very into all of this crafts, into needlework and all this stuff, but especially she was very fond of embroidery. So this is how everything started. And I mean, not surprising, right? Father is a textile magnate, so she is starting from a very young age. She already understood all of this textiles, all of the fabrics and all of the stuff, all of the work. And well, that was her main interest. However, when she got a little bit older, she decided to go, and study for like normal job, as we can say. And thus she got to Kharkiv University, where she studied actually law, and she finished with law degree. When she was 22, she met a man, Alexander Moiseyenko, and he was also another very rich guy from another rich family, but their family gained wealth from exporting some luxury goods, like, I don't know, like black caviar, for example, like some fishes, fish, and etc., etc. However, they didn't live for long together because, unfortunately, well, unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know in this type of situation how to say it. Moisenko, he died because of typhus just after 1 year of their married life. Varvara Andreevna, she was pregnant with their child, and she was like almost done with this, so she gave birth to their daughter and her only biological child, Irinka, birthed just in a few months after Moisenko died. So situation like this, and after a little bit of time, so why I'm saying biological, because she adopted a son of her older brother, Anatoly. To be honest, I didn't understood was the situation with this, because I saw in some of the resources that it was written that she was like literally fighting even for him. It was not just that I'm taking him, she was legally fighting for this kid. The kid's name was Volodymyr, and because she, like, apparently she wanted to take him with her. I don't know why, because she did it when her older brother Anatoly was divorcing with his wife, and why the child could not stay with her brother or his mom, I have no idea. I didn't find it, to be honest, a bit confusing for me, but it is what it is. She adopted him, she fought for him, she loved him as his own child, and well, he lived, Volodymyr, he lived with all of them for like till the rest of their lives, so together, not with his biological father, with Anatoly, but with his aunt. So yeah, after the death of her first husband, of Moisenko, he left her a lot of money, so she was completely fine financially. But in a little bit of time, she met Mykola Karinsky. She took his name and she was working under his name for the rest of her life. So he was a lawyer. Working also in Kharkiv at this period of time, and they even bought a house in Kharkiv. But in 1915, Karinsky was, Mykola Karinsky. So also for it with the endings. So in Ukrainian, if I will be saying KARINSKA, the ending with Ka, it's her. It's Varvara Karinska. It's the female version, how do you call it, right? If I'm saying Karinsky, you see, Karinska, Karinsky, Karinsky, it's a male version, so it's Mykola Karinsky. So yeah, sometimes there is, some certain last names we have, they are like this, they're changing for women and men, the ending. Some of the last names, they're not changing, they're the same for both genders, but in this case we have it like this. So what I was saying, in 1915, Karinsky, he was deployed to Moscow to work there, and he became actually a very famous lawyer. A lot of people knew him, a lot of people were coming to their house, and well, Karinska, Varvara, she was a very good host also. And while her husband was working in law and all of this stuff, doing his stuff basically, she decided to get back to her childhood memories, to her childhood crafts, what she was doing, and she started to work with fabric, with sewing and all of this stuff. Her first works were she was doing this collages, where she used silk fabrics with photographs, with drawings. Well, as I said, she was doing this type of collages. She was very meticulous. She was very, I think I can call her even perfectionist. She tried to make this the one sketch as as good as possible, and all of this ended with her presenting the 12 best works on in one of the Moscow galleries, People were very fond of it, actually. They found it very interesting, and as I understood, a lot of works were actually sold. So she even gained some money from all of this. She started to be talked about in Moscow circles of all of this, like bourgeoisie and all of this stuff. Rich people, basically. But all of this was going on for a long period of time, so it was just like a few years, because in 1917 the revolution started. The first Karinsky family, they moved to St. Petersburg because Karinsky was appointed prosecutor of the trial chamber there. A little later, he was deployed to south of Ukraine, specifically to Crimea. And yeah, so obviously all of them moved. So he and they didn't have biological children with Varvara. So it was just Irinka and Volodymyr. So her child from first marriage and adopted child. Nephew? Her nephew, yeah. Yeah. However, also things were not getting very good there because Varvara and Mykolai, they started to had arguments quite a lot. They started to differentiate from each other drastically, you know. Their views began to drift apart completely, and later Crimea was captured by Red Army, and Karinsky emigrated to Constantinople on his own. So I mean, I also hear it's a bit like I don't understand what was going on. The same as with adoption of her nephew, because apparently, as I understood, they were like family of this of Mykola. They said to him that he need to like get out of the country as fast as possible, because there were the ship that was going on from Crimea from Sevastopol or Simferopol, I don't remember, or Yalta, whatever. It was going to Constantinople, and they said to him that that Karinska with children, they will follow after him in a while, and that's how like Karinsky he fled the country. But I found this version just in one of the resources. Everything else I don't really know whether it was like how it was for real. Like I don't know from what I could find. I don't know the whole version, but the fact is the fact. He fled the country on his own, and he left Varvara and her children on their own in Crimea. And Varvara and children, they were not able to move from Crimea because of Bolsheviki, and yeah, so they stayed for a certain period of time on the peninsula. Mykola never came back. I don't know whether they had some kind of contact with each other, but at the end of the day, Karinska, she just sent Varvara sent him via postcard that they're getting divorced, and they somehow managed to divorce like this without seeing each other in person. So Karinska, again, a single mother, a single woman. Then she decided to return to her home in Kharkiv, but also here there was things were not great because, as I said in the video in the beginning, they were a millionaire family, very rich people. It's unacceptable in Soviet Union, in Bolshevik minds. It's unacceptable. They are the only one who were allowed to be millionaires, not everyone else. And her father, Andrei Zhmutsky, he immigrated also because he supported different beliefs that Red Army supported, and the same thing with Mykola Karinsky. He supported. He was actually arresting Bolsheviks before they gained such a power. He was actually very actively putting the idea that Lenin, he was actually a German spy and all this stuff. And obviously when Bolshevik won, and they gained the main power in these lands, they obviously started to hunt him basically, and he would have died if he didn't emigrated. Same with Zhmutsky also. He was a bourgeois, as we can say, you know, like all of this stuff. However, again, Zhmutsky, like, he emigrated just himself. Other kids, they stayed in Kharkiv, and well, and that's all. The light cut off. Yeah. So okay, I will finish here because it's too dark. What? He emigrated, so Varvara was not able to get home. Plus, they lost completely all of their how does it called? All of their capital. And yeah, so she couldn't get back. I will leave you here for well, for you for a second, for me for a few hours, at least like 4 or 5 hours, and yeah, we'll come back because it's too dark to film right now in this stuff, and plus I need my phone on a charge constantly because it's getting down. So yeah, so we'll see you in a second. I'm back. I'm back. So she was not able to get back home because of the situation. However, one of her brothers, he actually helped her to get back to Moscow. And well, I read in some of the resources that she actually left her children for 1 year before she was able to, like, how to say it, to make everything work. Then she took them from Crimea. However, so they had an apartment with Karinsky, like a 5-room apartment in Moscow, but you know, the politics were there that you're not allowed because of everything is for everyone, everyone is equal, and all of this stuff. I was already talking about this in video about Kulchitska. I was actually telling some private story also about how a lot of people were actually very frustrated about this because once were working as hell, other were pretending that they're working, you know, and those stuff. So 3 rooms out of these 5 rooms were already taken by some family. So it was basically, you know, like this dormitory thing. And so, you know, it was a common place for everyone. Again, another thing for all of you who really like communism, really like Soviet Union, this is how people lived. They had just one room for everyone, so it didn't matter whether, you know, you had children or not. So it might be, you know, just one room for like the family of 4 or 5. This was the realities. But yeah, but so these things were like this. 3 families were already moved into 3 rooms. And Karinska, she was able to, well, I suppose through her brother, to maintain 2 other rooms for herself. So there is some legend also. According to one legend, it is said that Karinska, she somehow, somewhere found her family jewelry, something like that, and she then was able, you know, to sell them or whatever to gain money. And on this money, she now opened officially the salon. In 1921, then she met another man, Volodymyr Mamontov. So he was also a descendant of another rich family, but in this period of time, he also, his family lost everything, and the guy was very, well, so as we can say. So I don't really understand what she found in him, but well, apparently he was very charming, but he was a raging alcoholic, you know, he had problem with aggression and all of this stuff like this, and he barely could, like, he didn't work, and that was actually why he was under a very good, a very strong attention from the government, because he was rich all his life and he never worked, and he had no idea what to do. So yeah, but she found something in him, and they didn't marry, I understand, just started to live together, something like that. So her salon again gained enormous popularity. again. It was not just, very famous people like artists, poets, like writers, whatever. It was just also the people from government coming to her. And then she decided that she will open an atelier, and she was sewing there some hats, some dresses, whatever, with her or by her, how do you call it? So she was making sketches, and she was, well, basically designing these clothes. Also important thing, she also created a school of embroidery that was called Ars. In addition, she opened some antiquity shop, and someone from in-laws were doing this antiquity, or like what, running this antiquity shop. Her main tasks were in this embroidery school for children, and with sewing and salons. However, things also were not going on for long, because Bolsheviks decided that they need to nationalize everything. Again, you are not allowed to have anything, and they started with just asking her politely, as it's possible for them, to give up on this art school, and this school needs to be nationalized. She said no, and then they should just started to threaten her, because she also was actually under the fire, and she also could have actually lost her life. And so this moment, I believe, led her to the idea that she need to leave, she need to save herself, her children, and she decided to do everything to leave Soviet Union. In 1924, again with the help of her brother, one of the brothers, she was able to got a personal appointment with one of the heads of the different departments. His last name was Lunacharsky. He then also would be actually like charged, and I believe he was actually executed, but I'm not sure about that. Yeah, so she got this personal appointment, she got to him, and she said like, well, I have this idea, let's make some exhibition with the works of our kids in Western Europe, and show how amazing I'm sorry, how amazing Soviet Union are, and how our arts are developing, and how we are amazing, all this stuff. Lunacharsky was like, approved, good. And for Varvara Andreevna, it was like the ticket to like one-way ticket. And Lunacharsky, as now we know, he and few other of people in the government, they actually understood pretty well what she was doing here, and they well, considering that Lunacharsky also was well, this government's done something to him, I think he was like, okay, let's save your life. So she started to prepare this exhibition, she started to prepare these works, to frame them and all of this stuff, and she started to have such plans how to. So she had a lot of this, till this point she already gained again a lot of very valuable and expensive things, and she a part of herself, her children, she saved also collection of church embroidery of 12th 13th century. She also saved collection of embroideries of Catherine to Alexander's era that were embroidered by it's called ladies in waiting of the empress and emperor. She was hiding all of this stuff under the, like, in the frame, under the embroidery of her children, of these students that she was taking. She also understood that she needed to save Mamontov, because, as I said, he was completely useless piece of crap apparently, and he was under the threat of being killed, because he's not doing anything, he's just there. So she asked that she want to go actually with him, and they gave her permission for them. So first one who to leave was Mamontov. He first received visa in modern words to Germany, and after like brief period of time, Varvara with her daughter and adopted son, she also left to Germany. I have a quote from her daughter, how they were like escaping. Basically, I did not know that there were family diamonds in my head. I complained to my mother all the way that the hat was heavy. The lining of my mother's coat was sewn from $100 bills, and the rest of our money was hidden between the pages in the books of Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. So with such tricks, Karinska left to Germany, where she met with Mamontov, and so they stayed for some period of time in Berlin, if I'm not mistaken, and then they together left to Brussels, where her father now was, that immigrated, and also apparently there were some other siblings also there. In 1930, then she decided to move to Paris. And in total, she lived in Paris for 9 years. In Europe, in total, for 15 years. She started to do some business things. She opened her business in Paris, and it started to rise up again. By this point, they broke up with Mamontov, and after that, we don't have any, I didn't found, no one was writing whether she had any romantical relationship after that or not with someone. She was not married, as I understood, till the rest of her life, but I think obviously she had some kind of lovers or something like that, but after that we will consider that she was single till the rest of her life after that. The first major project that she did in France was the costumes for Ballet Russe de Monte Carlo that was created in 1932. I mean, this Ballet Russe was created in 1932, so she created costumes for them. Together with Jean Cocteau, so she was creating costumes, and also as a theatrical costume designer, she was working by sketches, I believe, of Henri Matisse, of Claude Bérard, André Derain, Jean Miro, and others. A little bit later, she was working with actually even Dali, and with Marc Chagall. She started to work very hard. She was very energetic. Till the end of her life, she was very into all of this. She found herself, as we can say. And already in this period of time when she was in Paris, she already started to get her name started to get into the line with the greatest of that time. Another very important actually acquaintance that she made in Côte d'Azur also was the meeting with George Balanchine. He was a ballet master, or how to call it, right? Also, I think I need to say in the beginning that I might butcher something about this ballet terminology or something like that. As I said, I am not a ballet person. I am I'm struggling a bit with ballet, so I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing something. Feel free to correct me in the comments. I met with this master Balanchine, and in just 2 years she created actually costumes for 6 of his ballets. So I think it's enormous type of work. Then in 1936, Varvara Andreevna, she decided to, move on, and she moved to London with her son Volodymyr. She left her business in Paris to her daughter Irinka. London things were going on also amazingly. They even, they got to the point that they were so already rich and loaded that they actually hired a house of 18th century where Reynolds once lived. He was an English portrait master, also one of the biggest name in English art. Varvara and Volodymyr, they lived in small rooms on last floors, and all of the first floor was redone as a workshop. And here they were working also on the different costume, theatrical costume, and etc. Work was going on for a few years. In 1939, everyone started to understand where things are going on, and she decided, Varvara decided that she needs to leave or whatever, and she decided that she will move to United States. However, Volodymyr, he decided he will stay. They split up till the end of the war. And Varvara got to USA, and Volodymyr, he he got back to France, to Paris. He actually got there into the army, and for him life was not sweet at all. Her daughter also was in Paris, and they were under occupation all of these years. She was leaving. She actually had 2 children with her husband and all this stuff. They survived. This is the most important. But yeah, they were also there. But Volodymyr, he was in battles. He was then injured. Then he got to German concentration camp. He escaped somehow, and then after he escaped, he through Varvara, he found out about him. He found out where he is. He found out her address and all this stuff, and so Varvara, through her friends that were left in Europe, she was able to bring Volodymyr through. There was like Spain, Portugal, then through Cuba to USA, where they started to work again together. And with Volodymyr's sister, with Irinka, and with her daughter, they were able to meet just after the liberation of Paris in 1944. So again, what is this, like fourth time that Varvara needs to start her life all over again? And she started all over again. Here they started to call her Barbara. So in English translation, you will see that she is called Barbara KARINSKA. Well, she started again. She started to work with her son, Volodymyr. They started again, and again, complete success. And in this period of time, so she was also working on the design of the Dali exposition at the World Exhibition. After learning that Karinska is in USA, Balanchine, he immediately started to search for her. He found her and he took her to his ballet. He actually located a room for her under the studio in his ballet school. And well, this relationship and this cooperation of both of the masters were till the end of their lives, till they died. Varvara created costumes for Balanchine's ballet, almost all of the Balanchine's ballet. He even said once that in literature there is Shakespeare and in costume Karinska. And she became the chief stylist of the New York City Ballet, this ballet that was created by Balanchine. He was sponsored by someone. I'm sorry, I don't really know how all of this started, but well, apparently it started. He had this school. Balanchine is considered to be the father of American ballet, and well, he was sponsored by some of the masters, also something like that. And she was working as a costume designer with him. So her costumes always associated with perfection, and she created costume for such and performances as waltz, Scottish symphonies, jewelry, etc., etc. Then a bit later in 1950s, he was asked what is the key to success to his ballet performances and all this stuff, and he very briefly answered Karinska. So he very loved her, and he really believed that her costumes were making a lot of difference. So as I said, when Volodymyr, her son, came back from the war, they started to work together. He came here, and now he decided to change his name from Volodymyr to Lawrence Vladi. And well, a part of Balanchine, they were working for a lot of other performers, different troupes, and all of this stuff. So it was not just Balanchine with whom she cooperated. And so when they started to work with with her adopted son, Lawrence Vladi now, he took all of the production, so he became, I think I can call basically a director of all of that. They even were able to move from the theater, from this ballet room where they were situated previously, and they bought or they rented different resources was mentioned differently, but basically they had a house on the 56th Street in New York. It doesn't say me anything. Maybe it will say something to you, but yeah. And their atelier shop became a very, very popular among New Yorkers, among New York choreographers, ballet dancers, and etc. And by the way, as I read, it's actually still is going on and still is a very popular place. Clothes under this brand of Varvara Karinska were very popular. They were, well, as I said, this perfectionist, we can say, and at different period of times, the most famous women wore those costumes like Marlene Dietrich, for example, like Ingrid Bergman, like Vivian Leigh, Paulette Goddard, and etc., etc. So the best actresses of that generation. By this time, so she became very popular in USA, and she was already popular in Europe. So she started to get kind of like this international fame already. But in her homeland, in Ukraine, in Soviet Ukraine, in the Soviet Union overall. I mean, I think government obviously knew about her. They always knew about everything, but apparently they saw that she was not a threat for them. They left her be, let her live her life. However, still, Varvara, she was, you see, I don't know how to describe this type of character, but she was very obviously pleased with herself, with what she was doing. I'm more than sure she was grateful for that. She really loved art, and that was really her, what she really wanted to do. However, she was like not very fond of actually of New York. She was not fond of Hollywood. She was like, sometimes she was picky, sometimes she was not she was declining the costume orders from, like, you know, very big names, very big productions, very big films, yeah, because she maybe she didn't feel right about this production, these people, whatever, you know, she was choosing. And yeah, getting back to ballet a bit, because well, finally getting to the point why I actually got her, why she's so important. She was not just a random woman that was creating ballet costumes and all this stuff. And oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I will call here because it will kill me. Maybe it's the spirit of Varvara KARINSKA here. But well, so why I started about her. She is a very important figure in ballet costume, in creation of ballet costume. So she is the one who created a now famous ballerina KARINSKA tutu, or tutu, how to call it right. Let's search it up. Strange name. Ballet tutu, okay, very strange name. But well, basically, in 2 words, she created the modern ballet tutu that ballerinas, that ballet dancers are using now. This is her biggest impact on the on ballet culture, on costume culture, whatever you like, and that's why I took her. That's why we are talking about her for today's for this week. So I was enormously surprised about this when I found out about that. Basically, what happened? So I will, like, here I will try to explain, because to be honest, well, about the tutu I understood, but it was not the only thing that she changed. So about the tutu, this thing was created for the ballet symphony in C. And in one of the costumes, specifically in Fifth's costume, there was no frame, unlike the classic suit. So before that, ballerinas were using this, again, if you're a ballet dancer, you know this like a little bit more deeply. Write it down in the comments to explain us, who are not into all of this, who don't understand this, how does it work. But basically, how I understood, in very simple, the stupid words, they had some frame with metallic threads, or how to call it, I don't know. There was, you know, like, giving this form. It was pretty heavy. Most of the times, this frame was actually beating ballerinas on their legs. Their partner also was suffering from that, obviously. But what KARINSKA did, so she completely took out this frame. This like classical, before that, classical tutus, they had 12 or more layers of chiffon, but KARINSKA changed it, and now she had just like 6 or 7 of them. Meanwhile, each that's a comédie française. Really. That is comedic, like, Okay, see you later again. I have no idea what is going on. Okay, so where we stopped. Yes, so what, as I said, so Karinska, she reduced the layers of fabric up to like 6, 7. And meanwhile, each layer of this tulle was made a little longer than the previous one. Not very tightly fit into each other. They formed a, well, this, charming, lush, like soft skirt. So this is how Karinska get to the point that she created this modern tutus that still are used till this day, and was very quickly adopted by like everyone all over the world. I will throw my hands right now. What is going on? Today we have another roller coaster like it was in the video with Jablonska. So to briefly summarize what I said, she reduced the layers of fabric, and she got rid of this metallic frame that was previously into that. However, so here, I'm sorry, I will read it how I found it. So she, or like not even read, I would just also briefly say that I understood. I will not get into details because I didn't understood this, because I'm not I'm sewing my own clothes sometimes, but it's not that I'm making them out of my head or something like that. So when describing like this innovation in the form of tutu, people often forget about another important thing. So some of the researchers are saying that this is even more important than the tutu. She changed not only the ballet skirt but also the body part. So she apparently used some technique from one of the designers, French designers, Madeleine Vionnet. She worked with her in Paris, and this Madame Violette, she created some kind of thing. So she was sewing everything from one piece. So it was not like a lot of them, as if you're sewing, that you're taking different parts and then you're sewing them together. So she was taking something like that, like from one piece of fabric with some kind of, what is this? It's called some kind of like this thing is called the bias cut, something like. I hope it makes sense for those of you who know how to sew and you are professionals, or maybe you just advanced amateurs, but because I like didn't understand a word when I was reading that, I was like, okay. So apparently she changed also the body part, and it was very important. So this new costume now, it was sitting pretty tightly on the ballerinas, but it was not like suffocatingly tightly. So still like it got even better for ballerinas. They now were able to move way more freely than they did before that, and just overall the ballet costumes became a little bit more even sophisticated than they were. I have also another quote from one of the ballerinas. Her name is Allegra Kent. So she remembered her costumes that were created by Karinska for like a lot of years. That's also, as I understood, they were at some point became even friends together. Karinska even made a little dress for her daughter at some point and presented as some kind of just present, because why not? Before the quote also said that, also a little like small little fact, I think it actually really like it shows the character of Karinska. So I mean, obviously we cannot say now whether she was good or bad or whatever, but I think this little fact is very important to also to understand her personality. So sometimes she was also, when she was creating this tutus, this ballet skirts, she was sometimes like sewing, like embroidering some kind of like small little flowers, like it's somewhere inside of them. So so the ballerina, they will be the only one who would see this when they will take it on them, put this on them. They would see these little flowers, and this is how Karinska, she was like that was her way of supporting girls and, well, enlightening them or whatever, to bring them good mood. quote from Allegra Kent. So, often dancing in costumes by Barbara Karinska, I felt like a fish gliding through the water. What can we say about the fantastic beauty of these costumes? No wonder George Balanchine claimed that half of the success of his ballets was thanks to them. A part of this, so this is why Karinska is well known, why she's important. This is her very important influence and contribution to art and to ballet also and to theater and whatever. Now let's move a little bit, let's talk about her costumes for movies. So one of the main movies that is always mentioned with her is Jeanne d'Arc. So with this movie, Karinska at the beginning, she took this project but without any enthusiasm. So she was very skeptical about this, and she, starting from the beginning, she was sure that the project will be a failure. I don't know, however, why she decided to take it if she's had such mixed feelings, but at the end of the day, she took it. Maybe they were not. Maybe she wanted to work on this theme or whatever. I don't know. And there was this period of time when Hollywood started to shoot historical dramas, historical subjects, because there was one film that a film by Laurence Olivier, Henry V, and it was enormously popular back in time. So a lot of directors started to get into this theme, into this topic also. The budget of this picture, of this movie, of Jeanne d'Arc, was $200,000. I don't need to explain that enormous sum of the money. And well, at some point, movie became a bit of failure. Americans didn't really accept this. And well, the main actress was Ingrid Bergman. And prior to the premiere of this movie, so she was playing Jeanne d'Arc, she was the main lead. She got into a scandal of cheating and all of this stuff. And thus people were like, such a woman playing a virgin and all of this stuff, as if like this is the point of acting, like this is not autobiographies of these actors they are playing, so it doesn't matter like who they are in life, right? But well, whatever, it was a scandal, it affected the movie. But Karinska, she was able to save the situation with her costumes. The first thing that she did when she got to this project, she completely got rid of all of the costumes previously to that, of all of the silk costumes, of silk dresses and all this stuff. Ingrid Bergman, apparently she was very like, what the hell you doing? And Karinska, she just briefly said to her, where have you seen the poor dressed in silk? And thus she started to work on new costumes, and she was using history books. She was like diving very deep into the theme. She was diving into the theme, into the life of Jeanne d'Arc. She completely got in touch with this young lady, and she created amazing costumes, till the point that even actors, when they were saying that when they were wearing this costumes, they were getting into this mindset, and it really affected how they were playing. This is how much of the power these costumes had even on actors. Till the end of the life, actually, Karinska, she was like always remembering this work. Apart that this is the more important thing, that she won an Oscar for this movie. Overall, the film won 9 Oscars, and she won 1 for the costumes. But overall, you see the mood of these costumes and stuff, and how deeply she got into this theme. It was till the end of her life she remembered, and she felt some kind of connection with Jeanne d'Arc. The Oscar for this costume nomination was presented by then 19-year-old Elizabeth Taylor. However, Karinska didn't come to collect the statuette because she was not there. She was not in this award. She was actually sleeping peacefully at home, and she found out that she won this category just the next day when Balanchine called her and started to yell on the phone that you won, like, I congratulate you and all of this stuff. She's then also she was nominated for Oscar for another time in 1952. However, she didn't win this one, but well, she was not very, it didn't bother her, didn't bug her, it was not on her mind. She was completely fine with this. She was already fine that she was nominated. As I mentioned already, as it was in Europe, here also it was completely the same. She was not working just with Balanchine, so she was working also with such masters as Marius Petipa, Mikhail Fokin, Bronislava Nijinská, and other, well, apparently very famous and big names in ballet industry. Then in 1964, Balanchine, this Balanchine's New York City Ballet, they received a very big, significant financial support. And the first thing that the choreographer did, he took KARINSKA, and she now became a so it was now her full-time job. And she will basically, as we can say, gave her heart and her hands to the New York City Ballet. So she created amazing costume for almost all of George Balanchine's ballets, and it was like the number was like 75 ballets. She created costumes for all of this. Their last work, like joint work, was in 1977. It was called Vienna Waltz. However, it was very hard to stop those elderly people already from dreaming, from producing new ideas, and their biggest dream, both of them, was to create a fantastic ballet which was called Birds of America, based on the drawings of the American naturalist and ornithologist John J. Audubon. Well, however, both of the masters, they understood that it would stay in their fantasies and just in their heads. But so Balanchine at some point, I can say, he basically moved to Karinska's house in the town of Berkshire, New York, like near New York. And so they lived together there, and they were walking in the forest every day. Balanchine was, walking around, like dancing, showing how he sees some of the moves and all this stuff. Karinska, at her point, she was at home she got back to this technique that from what she started, basically, using some silk fabrics with photos and drawings and all of this stuff. That's how they spent their last years. Both died in 1983, with the difference just of several months. So Balanchine died in April, Karinska died in October. She was 97 when she died, and so she had long, enormously interesting, I believe, life, and gave us to ballet dancers, to ballet world, a very important innovation. Which led for the girls and their partners to not suffer under all of these things. In 1999, Varvara Andreevna Karinska, she was introduced into the National Museum of Dance's Mr. and Mrs. Cornelius Vanderbilt Whitney Hall of Fame here in Ukraine, in her Kharkiv, that she really loved, and all her heart was there, and I believe she was pretty heartbroken at some point that she was never able to return to the city again. So we have a street named after her on the house that we unfortunately don't have the house of this family, of Zhmutsky family now. I think there is a bar right now there or something like this, or a restaurant, I don't know. But we have the nameplate on this house. There were a foundation named after her, and in 2004 the International Fashion and Theater Costume Festival, also named after her, was founded. So such a story about a Ukrainian designer, Ukrainian master, Ukrainian craftswoman in our point. And for me it was very interesting, and I was watching all this costume that she made, all these things, and amazing stuff, very beautiful. She herself in a photo also looked very interesting, and so I hope that was interesting for you also, and that you have no idea like till this point of time about her anything. And yeah, so this is everything that I have for today. Next video, I have no idea. Maybe I will finally get into architecture, that I'm promising already for no like what, third video. Maybe we'll get into architecture, maybe not, I don't know, we'll see. Actually, I think I was preparing something, but at this point, no, I don't remember what I was preparing before Karinska came to my mind. So yeah, so I don't know. Stay tuned. We'll see. We'll see like what would be next. As usually, I'm saying the most important for me is that you find out something new for yourself today. And yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. Stay safe. Sleep well. Keep fighting also, and yeah, wish you all the best and hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.